Someone is going to betray you. If it has not happened yet, it will. And when it does, most people do one of two things. They collapse, or they retaliate in a way that costs them more than the betrayal itself did. Marcus Aurelius, the man who ruled the most powerful empire in human history, had his closest general declare himself emperor while Marcus was sick and possibly dying. His response to that betrayal is the most psychologically powerful thing any leader has ever recorded. And by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly how to do the same thing. Not the philosophy version, not the quote poster version, the operational version. 5 specific weapons Marcus used in real situations with everything on the line, and how you deploy each one starting today. But first, you need to understand what Marcus was actually dealing with, because most people have no idea. The real pressure. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome from 161 to 180 AD. During those 19 years, he managed a plague that killed 5 million people, a war on the northern frontier that lasted a decade, a son who was visibly becoming his worst nightmare, and a closest general, a man he personally elevated, personally trusted, personally considered a friend, who declared himself emperor the moment he heard Marcus might be dying. The Meditations, the private journal Marcus kept, was never meant to be published. He wrote it for himself as daily reminders, because the pressure he was under required daily maintenance to survive without breaking. What you are about to receive is the operational system inside those reminders, decoded, made deployable, available to you right now. Weapon 1 is the foundation. Without this one, none of the others function. Weapon 1, the dichotomy of control. Every morning, Marcus ran a single filter on everything he was facing. One question: is this inside my control or outside it? His thoughts, inside. His judgments, inside. How he responded to any situation, inside. The plague, outside. Cassius's betrayal, outside. What he did next, inside. That filter sounds simple. It is not simple to execute under real pressure. Most people intellectually understand they cannot control other people's behavior. But when the betrayal happens, when the person they trusted acts against them, the emotional system overrides the intellectual understanding completely. Marcus trained the filter as a daily practice, specifically because he knew that under pressure, the untrained mind defaults to attempting to control what it cannot control. And that attempt destroys the energy needed to control what it actually can. Here is how this becomes an offensive weapon rather than just a coping mechanism. Every person around you who has not built this filter is spending a significant portion of their mental energy on uncontrollable variables, other people's opinions, outcomes that have not happened yet, situations that may never materialize. That energy drain is invisible, but it is constant and it compounds. The person who has trained the dichotomy of control is operating with a fuller tank in every room they enter, in any competitive environment, a negotiation, a workplace, a room where power is being decided. The person not bleeding energy on the uncontrollable has a structural advantage over everyone who is. Marcus built this filter because he needed it to survive. You build it because it makes you functionally more powerful than every person around you who has not. Weapon 2 is where it gets counterintuitive. This one bothers people the first time they hear it. Weapon 2, premeditatio malorum. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius deliberately imagined every bad thing that could happen that day. His exact words in the Meditations: when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. He did not write this once. He wrote versions of it repeatedly because he needed to remind himself to do it every single day. This was not pessimism. This was what modern psychologists call stress inoculation, the deliberate pre-exposure to anticipated difficulties in order to reduce their psychological impact when they arrive. A punch you have already absorbed in your imagination lands with a fraction of the disorientation of a punch you never saw coming. When Cassius declared himself emperor, Marcus was not shocked into paralysis. He had already lived through betrayal 1,000 times in his mind before it arrived in reality. His response was measured, controlled, and strategically superior to anything rage or shock could have produced. Not because Marcus felt nothing, because the emotional first hit, the destabilizing ambush, had already been absorbed in rehearsal. The real event landed on a mind that had already processed it. You deploy this every morning before you check your phone. 3 minutes. Name the 3 most likely difficulties of your day. Name how you will respond to each one. The day arrives and your worst-case scenarios are already filed. You're operating on prepared ground. Everyone else is on ambushed territory. Weapon 3 turns whatever is blocking you right now into the exact material you need to build what the obstacle is trying to prevent. Weapon 3. The obstacle is the weapon, Marcus wrote in the Meditations. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This has been quoted so many times that most people have stopped actually hearing it. So make it concrete. During the Antonine Plague, Marcus lost 5 million people, including soldiers and administrators. The plague should have ended his northern military campaign. Instead, the necessity created by the plague forced Marcus to develop new military recruitment strategies and administrative structures that made the Roman military more adaptable than it had been before the plague arrived. The obstacle created the capability that outlasted the obstacle itself. Your current obstacle is not in the way of what you are building. It is the material you are being given to build it with. The client you lost is forcing the diversification you were avoiding while they were paying the bills. The rejection is generating the hunger that comfortable acceptance never produces. The relationship that ended is creating the clarity about your own requirements that comfort was hiding from you. Ask one question about whatever you are facing right now. What does this obstacle make necessary that I was avoiding before it arrived? That question converts the obstacle from a wall into a set of instructions. Marcus did not learn this from success. He learned it from 19 years of obstacles that could have ended his reign, and watching this system convert each one into something the reign needed. Now, the part most people will not believe when they first hear it. What Marcus actually did when Cassius betrayed him, and why it was the most devastating power move in this entire video. Weapon 4, the betrayal response. 175 AD, Marcus is sick, possibly dying. His most trusted general, Avidius Cassius, the man he personally elevated to supreme commander of the entire Eastern Empire, the man he called a friend, receives false reports that Marcus is dead and declares himself emperor. He has 7 legions. He controls Egypt, the empire's entire grain supply. He has Syria, Arabia, and Palestine behind him. Every emperor in Roman history facing this situation did the same thing. They moved immediately to crush the threat and make an example. Marcus did not do that. He kept the news secret from his own troops initially. He waited. He called a council and made an announcement nobody expected. They would march against Cassius, but the objective was capture, not execution. His stated intention was to forgive Cassius in person. Cassius was killed by one of his own officers 3 months later before Marcus could carry it out. Marcus was reportedly upset. He had wanted to demonstrate the system publicly. When he arrived in the eastern provinces, he refused to prosecute a single senator who had supported the revolt. He wrote to the Roman Senate, "I implore you, keep my reign unstained by the blood of any senator. May it never happen." Every emperor who responded to betrayal with mass execution produced 2 things: short-term suppression of visible opposition and a long-term environment where every ambitious person around them calculated, if I am ever suspected of disloyalty, I will be killed regardless of guilt, so I should act when I have the best chance. Marcus's response produced something different, an environment where the cost of betrayal was public forgiveness that could never be repaid, psychological debt on a civilizational scale. Deploy this in your own environment. The person who publicly absorbs a betrayal without retaliation and without collapse becomes the most psychologically imposing presence in every room they subsequently enter. Everyone who witnessed it knows what you can withstand. That knowledge changes how they calculate every future interaction with you permanently. 4 weapons: the control filter that stops the energy drain, the morning rehearsal that removes the shock from every ambush, the obstacle conversion that turns resistance into raw material, and the betrayal response that turns your worst moment into your most powerful demonstration. Marcus built all 4 under conditions that would have broken anyone without the system. The 5th weapon is how he kept it running when the pressure was at its highest. It is the most immediately deployable thing in this entire video. Weapon 5, the daily system. The Meditations was not a philosophy book. It was a maintenance manual. Marcus wrote the same ideas repeatedly across hundreds of entries, not because he discovered something new each time, but because he needed to remind himself of what he already knew under daily operational pressure. The system required daily maintenance or it degraded. This is the part every motivational version of Marcus Aurelius misses. He was not naturally unshakable. He had to work at it every single day. The journal was the work. 3 components: morning, 3 minutes of premeditatio malorum. Name the 3 most likely difficulties of today. Write 1 sentence on how you respond to each. This is not planning, this is inoculation. Evening, 3 minutes of review, 1 question only. Where did I spend energy on the uncontrollable today? Not as self-criticism, as calibration. Identify the drain, reduce it tomorrow. The journal, not for anyone else. For the same reason Marcus wrote his, because the act of writing the reminder is the reminder. You cannot write the impediment to action advances action about your current obstacle without your mind beginning to apply it. The writing is the weapon being sharpened in real time. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world for 19 years through plague, war, betrayal, and a son he could already see was going to undo everything he had built. He did not survive that intact because he was naturally extraordinary. He survived it because he had a system he maintained with the same discipline he applied to everything else. 5 weapons. The dichotomy of control as your operational filter, premeditatio malorum as your morning armor, the obstacle as your raw material, the betrayal response as your most powerful demonstration, and the daily system that keeps all 4 running when the pressure is highest. Marcus wrote to himself every night to make sure he would use them tomorrow. Now you know why, and now you have the same weapons he did. The only variable left is whether you use them with the same discipline. Subscribe to Mentis Arcana. The doctrine continues.